Okay, got it. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the current webinar of our series of live webinars with staff from the Society for the Protection of Nature in Israel. I'm Jay Shovit, coming to you from Tel Aviv, as usual, every 2 weeks, Sundays at 8 p.m. here in Israel. Our staff and our guests devote their Sunday evenings to this webinar already since the beginning of the Corona period. In April of 2020, we've been here pretty much every couple of weeks. Have a really exciting webinar tonight with Yuval Dax, one of our staff members here at the Society for Protection of Nature, the part of BirdLife Israel, and our photographer, videographer par excellence. You're seeing now in the background some of the video you'll be seeing here. Yes, say hello. Say hi, Mari from Vancouver. Please let us know where you're from, who you are, who's viewing today. Wow, we already have 100 people as I speak, and growing every second here. Popular webinar, I'm sure, Yuval, because we have a lot of birders out there, and this stuff is just beautiful. Nature lovers in general, and I think human beings, and probably other predators. Everybody would love to see this video. Just does so much for the soul. Wow. We're going to get to it in a couple of seconds. People are joining all the time, so I'll give them time to get settled in with a cup of coffee or whatever you have in the morning there on the East Coast, or in the West Coast, or early afternoon on the East Coast, and welcome from Europe and from Israel as well, from Ashkelon and from Florida and from Toronto and from all kinds of places. I want to thank our affiliates in the United States and Canada and the UK. Thank you all very much for your very active and much appreciated support of SPNI and our work. Our affiliates in Nature Israel in the United States and in Canada and in the UK. Really appreciate all the help and support we get year-round, and also on these webinars. And I thank you all for joining. I from France. I know one of our people from France couldn't make it. Newton, Mass, as usual. I hope we got somebody from the Berkshires, Hudson Valley. I'm just throwing out places people are usually from. Brookline. So welcome, everybody. We're 3 minutes after the hour. I think we will get moving. It's wow, so many people here already, Yuval, and I'm sure more are joining. We're live on Facebook as well. Tell your friends, and in general, let us know if if you would like us to send these announcements to other people. All our webinars are recorded. They'll be online. Hello, Maggie and Leon, board chair emeritus in the United States. So many interesting pictures in the background. Yuval, let's get going. Thank you very much for coming to us for this evening from your home in Modi'in in central Israel. You are a fun guy to go out in the field with. Yuval's a guy who knows how to knows his way around drone photography, and just great out showing people and professionals and non-professionals how this all works out in the field. But from the comfort of our living rooms, we get to enjoy Yuval's craft. So please, Yuval, thank you very much, and we'll be back in 45 minutes or so. People, if you have any questions, please put them in the question and answer feature, not the chat, if you can remember. But we'll try to get to your questions, and we'll talk to Yuval on the other side of this incredible presentation. Thanks, Yuval.
Okay, thanks, Jay. Again, hello, everybody from wherever you are around the world. I'm Yuval Dax, a staff member of the SPNI, Society for Protection of Nature. Today, I'm going to try to introduce the amazing wildlife of Israel, the birding scene of Israel, from a special point of view, my point of view as a wildlife photographer. The title of the presentation was called Wildlife Photography as a Tool for Nature Conservation. But I think you should add a question mark. Can you really do a change through wildlife photography? And I'll try to answer this question today. I was asked to do a kind of a presentation about my work, and I was asking myself, you know, am I really a nature conservationist? You know, I usually like, what I really love to do is wildlife photography. So we'll show some chapters of all the work that was done in the last 10 years or so in Israel. And we'll try to answer this question. Does wildlife photography really make a change in nature conservation in Israel? And if it won't, at least we'll have a glimpse of the amazing wildlife that we have in Israel. So let's jump to it. The first thing I would like to show you is like how I really started. Let's have a look. A little bit about myself. Let me see if you know if you can see what I see on the screen. That's how I was looking. Jay, just tell me if everybody can see like the stills pictures.
Yep. Yes, absolutely.
You know, nobody is born as a wildlife photographer or a nature conservationist. So I probably was born as a birder, you know, with binoculars on me. When I started birding, my mom says when I was already 3 years old, and there was always birds around me. And, and then, you know, since I remember myself, I'm like wearing these flannel shirts and having a binocular on my neck, looking for birds in every possible event. And the binoculars were heavier than me most of the time. Then I grew up, and I started using a camera when I was already like a teenager. And I was also fascinated always by not only by nature, but all the, you know, people that look at nature. So I was always taking pictures of people that are doing this work of nature conservation. Here I'm taking a picture of Amir Balaban, one of our staff members. Like when he was in his 20s, that was maybe 30 years ago. And I realized that, you know, the people that are looking at the birds are as fascinating as the birds themselves. You know, it's a whole thing in Israel. And that's how I started. And I guess I'm doing this ever since, like doing wildlife films about people that do wildlife projects. Just let's just go a little bit further on. The first question is, you know, how do you do a wildlife film that makes a change? And that's how I started doing films. So I thought of kind of showing some of our projects that were done in the last years. We'll just go over them quickly. And that's also a chance to have a kind of a glimpse of the beautiful wildlife we have in Israel. Jay, do you see the picture now? I'm just making sure.
Yes. Yes.
So I'll just go over that quickly. I've done many works together with Professor Yossi Leshem, who in my eyes is not only a birder, a nature conservationist, one of the best in Israel, if not the best, but he's also an amazing film producer. So he was my film producer until today, in fact, and we did lots of wildlife conservation films together. One of them was how to protect the Dead Sea. And we invited a group of artists to do this project. Just a minute. And one of the best ways to show how you do wildlife protection is through someone who's telling the story. So it's always about the story, not only about wildlife. And we found the artists that are telling the story. Here we can see Amir Balaban. He's kind of taking.
Yuval, the photos are not changing. Maybe you should share your screen.
Just a minute. And now, do you see something changing? So just a minute. Can you see something now?
Yes, we can see it now.
So yeah, so here where the artists that are coming from all over the world are helping to promote the awareness to the Dead Sea, which is shrinking very fast every year, 1 meter every year. It's getting drier and drier. And the best thing is through people that are telling the story. We even did a kind of, a title, Save the Dead Sea. And we took a picture of it from a drone. This is how I started understanding the power of a drone, the special point of view. So you can see the kids coming from both Jordan, Israel, and the Palestine Authority. All these kids are holding hands and creating a kind of a human, how do you say, title? A human title, Save the Dead Sea. And this is how the movie looks like. The video looks like. Another story is about a person, Hadoram Shirichai. He's one of our best birders, and he's one of our top birders, and we kind of showed the beautiful wildlife and bird life of Israel through this amazing character, Hadoram. So we consider Hadoram one of our best, if not the best birder in the world, if you can say such a thing. So he's probably one of them. He's a really special character, devoting his life to bird protection, showing and educating kids. And this is how we do this conservation work in Israel. I'd also be glad to answer questions. If you have any questions, you can always, type the questions, and I'll do my best to answer. I'm just going quickly and showing you some of our special work that we've done here in Israel. Another project is called the Champions of the Flyway. You might have heard of it in other Zoom lectures, but we, together with our SPNI staff, Jonathan Meirav and Dan Alon, and so many other people, we created an amazing event. It's a kind of a race for protection of nature called the Champions of the Flyway. And everyone is kind of racing against the time to see as many birds in one day. But on the way, we created lots of media, and we created lots of public awareness to birds in Israel. Birds protection along the flyway. So many birds are being hunted and killed along the flyway. And in fact, we realized that Israel is one of the best places for wildlife around the Middle East. It's a kind of a haven. Another very special project we've started promoting only lately is called the Startup Nature. So that's how I'm kind of involved in all these projects. I'm just filming these projects with my drones, with the camera, doing interviews, and this project, Startup Nature, of course, it deserves a special Zoom. We've done a couple of Zooms on this project. I'm just showing it in brief. we realized that there are so many places which are drying up in Israel. Fish ponds are drying up. The fish ponds that were created in the 50s, about 70 years ago, after we kind of drained all our lakes in the 40s, 50s, 60s, we created fish ponds, but these fish ponds nowadays are facing danger of being dried. The water is becoming very, very expensive in Israel. The fish are becoming too cheap, so it's not economical to sustain these fish ponds. And this place, which was a former fish pond, was dried up, and now our SPNI team with Nadav Israeli and many amazing nature conservationists, we're trying to create a new habitat. Look how it looks from a bird's eye view. So this is the place before it was kind of created. It was dug. We started digging new ponds, new artificial ponds, and we managed to bring water that will fill up these ponds. And these ponds are not for growing fish, but especially for wildlife. And this is how these ponds look nowadays, and they're already starting to attract wildlife. And so this is a kind of a miracle, especially comparing to other places in the world, where we managed to kind of reverse the process of nature, which is kind of dwindling and disappearing. We're creating this nature back. We're bringing it back. And that's why we call it a startup nature, because we managed to create water, and distilled water from the Mediterranean Sea, salt water becoming sweet water, and then the sweet water is filling up the places which were drying up, and the birds are already starting to come, and the wildlife and all the habitat is kind of is coming back. So this is another amazing project that I was lucky to document. Another really special project is called the Israeli Nest Camps. Let me just show you this project. We are kind of making a kind of creating a really unique view into the life of many birds of prey in Israel. The birds of prey are suffering a lot of habitat loss in Israel, but together with the Nature and Parks Authority, we're kind of managing to really safeguard these birds of prey with special webcams that are. It's a really high-end and sophisticated project that involves a lot of talented people. We bring the nest cams into the most remote places in Israel, and in this way we can kind of guard these birds of prey 24/7 online. Vultures, eagle owls, long-legged buzzards, Egyptian vultures, at least 5 species of raptors, and this brings us a really unique view, and we can learn many things on these birds, how to protect them better. So that's another amazing project. All these projects have been done in the last years, and the videos we've done are meant to collect funds, raising funds for nature conservation. Another interesting project is connected to how do you make a documentary film, how do you make a film that kind of addresses a special audience. You know, every audience is different. Here, the audience was soldiers in Israel. Sometimes they, when they do army drills, and they use, you know, bullets, and these bullets are creating fires. How do you call them? Like flash fires in the middle of the summer heat. And we tried to kind of educate the soldiers not to how to prevent the fires. You can prevent fires in many really simple ways. So we found a way to create, you know, these cardboard, how do you call them?
Practice targets.
Cardboard targets. The cardboard targets are kind of talking to the soldiers, telling them, please don't make fires. So this is how you do it in Israel. Another project was together with the Nature and Parks Authority. How do you address a large audience? So we just did lots of viral videos, like cool videos, really short videos going on the web. Another video, we try to bring audience people to visit the nature in the winter. As strange as it might sound to people that are now in the cold weather of Canada and the US, people in Israel, although it can be 25 degrees, are sure that the Israeli winter is really, really cold. 25 degrees, 20 degrees is cold. So nobody goes on trips in the winter. Our winter is too cold for Israelis. 15 degrees is really cold. So we did lots of viral videos about bringing people to make more, to visit nature in the winter, for example. I'm just showing you.
Yuval was talking centigrade degrees, by the way, not Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
25 centigrade, that's about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, where Americans are.
Yeah, so I'm just showing you a little bit of how Israel looks nowadays in the winter. Our winter is much more wild and mild than, and most of our migratory birds spend some of them stay all winter. So we have lots of birds, lot of water birds, lot of waterfalls. You know, people think that Israel is one big desert with camels, but there is much more to it in Israel. It's a large part of the country is really, really lush and green. And I'm just showing you a little bit of the country through the videos, the viral videos we've done. Another, some more projects is a special project I've done in this coming, how do you call it, the COVID year. I was approached by the, do you see this picture? Just a minute, sorry. Hope you can see this. You know what animal this is? Does someone, I'm just asking, it's like a, I'll try to answer all these videos later on. The MA wrote, Carol wrote hyena, Sheila wrote a hyena. Yes, this is a hyena. But the strange thing about this hyena is that, you know, it's in the middle of the city. And I'm just showing you some more pictures of this hyena, just a minute.
Is this Ruti and Modi'in?
Exactly. So we, in Israel, we have a very special species of hyena. This is called the striped hyena. It's not the same hyena like in Africa. It's not dangerous at all. It doesn't predate. It just eat, you know, carcasses, dead flesh. and it's much smaller, and it's one of our biggest mammals in Israel. In fact, it's our biggest predator in Israel, although it doesn't predate, it just eats dead animals. It's very important for the ecological system because it's like a sanitary of the nature. It eats all the, it prevents these diseases from spreading. And I was approached by the BBC that asked me, can you film this special hyena that is the only hyena in the world that enters the city? And I told them, in fact, this hyena is living in my own city in Modi'in. Modi'in is a small city in the center of Israel, and nobody's heard of this city in the world. It's it's like a suburbia, but in fact, the BBC wildlife unit heard about Modi'in because of this hyena. So this hyena brings a lot of pride to Israel, although not many people know this hyena in Israel. And so my mission as a wildlife photographer in the COVID year when nobody was allowed to drive out of his city, I had the opportunity to track this hyena in the city and collect this footage for a new kind of series about urban nature for the BBC. And the mission was, the BBC told me, if you want this hyena to enter prime time, you have to film this hyena crossing the road on a crossroad. So I was waiting for this hyena for more than a month, every night. And at last the hyena really crossed the road on a crossroad. And when I showed them the videos, the BBC told me, yes, it's crossing the road, but it has to compete with other animals like emu, and that is crossing a stream with its chicks. So now you have to film this hyena crossing the crossroad and teaching its cubs to cross the crossroad. So it's really hard to be a wildlife photographer. I did my best. And this hyena, in fact, became a kind of, how do you call it, a mascot of the city. The sad ending of the hyena you can see in this picture is that sadly this hyena was road killed by a car a couple of months ago, and it was so used to walking on the roads. So one day it didn't look left and right when it was crossing the road and was killed. And the citizens of Modi'in created a funeral and trying to raise awareness to, protecting urban wildlife. So show me another place in the world, or at least in the Middle East, where you have people which are so concerned about urban wildlife in general, preventing roadkills and trying to create such a special, how do you say, event. And in fact, we used all these pictures to create more awareness to wildlife conservation. That's another example where, where photography can help protect nature. Let's have a look at some other works. Photography is also about research. Let me have a look. Just a minute. Photography is also about research, and in fact, I was lucky. Just a minute. Tell me if you see this picture. Just a minute. I was lucky enough to be part of many surveys. So what I do is both nature photography, but also surveys. I'm like doing both wildlife surveys for Society for Protection of Nature and nature photography. And so these surveys are an amazing chance to visit the most remote places in Israel. And one of these places is the Mount Hermon. Mount Hermon. I'm here with Avner Rinot. He's one of our best team members. And we reached a place which is facing Syria. So we're looking here now at Syria. We're beyond the border. One of the issues about Israel is that we don't know always where the border is, or we prefer not to know. And so here we found a new species of bird which was never documented in Mount Hermon. Mount Hermon in Israel has a height of beyond 2,000 meters. It's very high for Israel. We have snow in the winter. This wheatear is called the morning wheatear because it has a special voice, like a morning sound. It kind of mourns, a very sad sound. This is how the mountain looks like in winter. So Israel is not only a desert and Mediterranean habitat, but it's also snowy peaks. We can do skiing in winter, and we call it the roof of the country because it's really the highest peak in the country. We can have an amazing view towards Lebanon, Syria, and it's one of our best wildlife nature reserve. It's also one big nature reserve, Mount Hermon. I was lucky to join one of our best nature experts, Amir Bendov, who did a very special research about a really special animal called the nuthatch, the rock nuthatch. This nuthatch has a really special story. It builds a nest which is kind of fixed into the rock and lives in this nest all year round. So that's another really, really interesting story. So through photography, we kind of realized that this bird is, let me show you this bird is kind of waking up in morning, and it closes the nest with special fur that it collects the fur from the ground in a special way. And this fur is kind of a door, artificial door or a natural door that this smart bird is building to kind of prevent cold from entering the nest and also prevent predators from entering in the night. And after the bird is taking the door inside, the rock nuthatch is coming out for the first time every morning before the sunrise. So this is how the bird is exiting the nest, and it was first documented only recently. I'm just showing you quickly many of our researchers. I'm just checking all the time if you can see the picture. Yeah. Another project that I was lucky to be involved in is this really special desert tawny owl that was never, its biology of nesting was never documented before. Together with Hadoram Shirichai, one of our top researchers, Amir Bendov, and many other nature conservationists, Amir Balaban, and many other, Eyal Bartov, we kind of documented this really special owl that there's not much information is known about this owl, although it's living in the Middle East, and no one has never ever documented the nestlings. So I was lucky to be the first one amongst the first people to document in video the nestlings of this owl. And you look here how cute they are. And that's really, really, that was really exciting for me. So I realized as a wildlife photographer that there's so much more to find out. Even an hour's drive from my home in Israel, there's so much more to discover. I think Israel is one of the most interesting places where there's so much knowledge, but still so much more to discover. So this is the tony owl, the desert tony owl, and you can see how hard it is to find this owl in the desert. It has an amazing camouflage, really, really hard to find it, even in daytime. So imagine how hard it is to find it at night. A little bit of the video. And that's how we did the research, the nestlings. They look, some people would say they're ugly, but I think they're really pretty. Okay, just a minute. Another interesting project is the raptor, our raptor surveys. We've done a lot of raptor surveys in recent years, and one of my projects is kind of documenting the raptors, both the raptors and the people that are involved in nature conservation. Just a minute, let me just show you the pictures. Let me see where they are. Just a minute, sorry. Yeah, so I'm just showing you quickly what we do here in Israel. I was lucky to participate in many raptor surveys. And when you research birds of prey in the desert, you can be witnessing the most amazing scenes, really things that you see only in wildlife movies. One of our ways to track the birds is with special transmitters. There's a whole team of experts that puts the transmitters on the birds, and it's a really big conservation project. You can't let the birds just live alone in the desert. You have to help them, give them food, especially this person, Asher, is in charge of bringing, freshly dead animals to feed the raptors in the desert. So we keep feeding the raptors to make sure they eat the proper food, proper meat, and not meat that might be poisoned. And these are the nestlings. This is a young Egyptian vulture that got a special ring. It has a transmitter. It might look ugly to you, but I'm sure that its mother is sure this vulture is pretty. And this vulture is already ready to spread wings, and it will migrate all the way to Sudan and then back to Israel. So these birds of prey face a lot of danger around us in the Middle East. We have a tough neighborhood, and some of the dangers are like people that try to steal the nestlings. I hope you see the video now. You can really see the people that are sometimes watching these nests, keeping the birds of prey also have face a danger of electrocution in Israel. So there are so many threats that these raptors face, and we do our best to prevent all this. We have lots of projects involving protection of birds of prey. So these are examples of wildlife photography that helps bird research. But the question is, how do you create a kind of awareness to in a bigger scale? How do you show the amazing wildlife we have to a much, much larger audience? So one of the ways is just to work with the biggest channels like BBC, National Geographic. So I was lucky to work together with these channels and to work to understand what interests them in Israel. And I realized that Israel is a kind of one of the best places for watching wildlife in the Middle East. You won't see any wildlife in any other countries around us. Israel is the best place for wildlife in the Middle East. That's why these wildlife photography teams come from all over the world, and you can see how they work. This is like the behind the scenes of filming wildlife in Israel. Sometimes an animal that looks like in the middle of the desert, in fact, it's living in the backyard of someone, or someone's garden. That's how it works in Israel. Israel is so kind of concentrated that sometimes you see the wildlife so close to where people live, and so sometimes the animals kind of win and fool you. And so here I was working with the BBC filming the ibex, and another project was filming the swifts for the BBC. The swifts in Israel have a really special story. They live in one of the oldest places in the world, oldest buildings in the world, which is in fact the Western Wall in Israel. And the swifts are living there for the last 2,000 years. There aren't so many buildings in the world where birds are living for such a long time. In fact, they are awake at night time too. Jay, just tell me if I have some more time.
Sure. How much time do you need?
Yeah, I think 15 more minutes if you don't.
Well, we close at the hour, so, and there's a few questions. I mean,
yeah. We'll just do it quickly, and we'll just show some more pictures and a lot of time for questioning. Take another
5-10 minutes.
Excellent. That's more than enough for me. We have an amazing phenomena of the migration. So I was lucky to film migration for National Geographic in the last years. The birds know no borders in Israel. And I was just following the migrating birds. Sometimes you see unbelievable scenes, mass concentrations of birds in a big biblical scale. It's unbelievable, and not many people know about it, even in Israel. Not people are lucky to see these thousands of storks and pelicans and cranes and many other birds. Which concentrate. You just need to be lucky to be in the right day and hour. And another funny story is the jackals that live in the city center in Israel. So Israel is a really a very hospitable place for wildlife. One BBC researcher is kind of trying to film a jackal with the city in the background. Israel is maybe the only place in the world where you have jackals, predators, living in the middle of the city of Tel Aviv. Here in this Rosh Tzipor park, we have these predators living, which is really special. What are the next projects? I'm happy to kind of show you. One of our amazing projects is documenting the history of nature protection in Israel. So you think Israel has a very short history? You know, we had our independence only 70 years ago, but we have one of the oldest nature conservation organizations in the world. We created the Society for Protection of Nature already in the 50s. And we realized that all these people that were, how do you say, the founders of the Society for Protection of Nature are already kind of starting to disappear, like the wildlife itself. And we have to kind of do a race against time to interview these amazing people and preserve the information, preserve the knowledge, all their knowledge, and preserve all the wildlife that was already extinct. We have to document it. So we are doing like a project together with Amir Balaban, Yossi Leshem, to create our Israeli archive of nature conservation. Another really special project is documenting the wildlife of the Negev Desert. The wildlife of the Negev Desert is, this is our last frontier of wildlife. I'm just showing you a little bit of our amazing wildlife in Israel. It's like nature, it's like the best wildlife you can have in the Middle East. You feel sometimes that you're like in the middle of a safari in Africa, and it's only 2 hours drive from Tel Aviv, one of the most biggest and busiest cities in the world, at least in the Middle East. And show me another place where in 2 hours drive you can see such amazing wildlife. There aren't many cities like this in the world, maybe Nairobi. So we have our amazing wildlife here. One more thing is kind of, I just want to summarize about like 10 years of nature conservation. I'm just checking if you can see this. Just a minute. Yeah. Let me just check. So while we're like watching these bits of Israeli wildlife, I'll be glad to answer questions. One of the questions, I'm just reading some questions. Does Yuval do birding tours? Yes, of course. I'll be glad to do birding tours. I'll leave my emails. I do birding tours in Israel and abroad. I'll be glad to be in touch with anyone that has any questions. Why do people want to steal predator birds' nestlings? Do the predator birds attack their live animals? It's hard to understand, but some people around the Middle East kind of collect birds of prey. They like to kind of raise them at home, like it's a kind of a falconry. Falconers raise birds of prey at home. So this is a big danger for birds all around the world, and Israel too. Where is the best birding area in spring? Arava, Galil, other. So Israel is one big birding area, but I would recommend to visit the Eilat Birding Center in springtime, or the Jerusalem Bird Observatory in springtime. We have Magan Michael fish ponds on the Mediterranean coast, which are excellent. Kfar Upin Birding Center in the Beit She'an Valley. All these places are excellent in springtime. I'd love to answer any other question. In the meantime, I want to show you, just say a short thank you. And I try to answer these questions. Can you do wildlife conservation? Does wildlife photography, is it a real tool for wildlife photography, for nature conservation? I'm not sure if I can really save the world as a nature conservation, as a wildlife photographer. I think the best way is to work together with other nature conservationists as a photographer. So I think the best way to be a nature photographer that really helps nature conservation is to work together with other people. So this is a chance to, first of all, of course, thank my family that is so supportive. Thank my staff teams, which are one of the really the best team in the Middle East for sure. I'm just showing you some pictures of how wildlife conservation looks like, in Israel, how the people behind the binoculars look like in a average working day in Israel. All these nature conservationist birders that do this amazing work. So thanks again, Jay. And
thank you, Yuval. That was fascinating. Thank you. I'm sure people want to. Maybe we can watch it again in slow motion on the recording and take it in even more. And people have asked about the URL for some of these videos, the short videos you made. I don't know. We definitely would like to get them on our site as well. And even if there's some subtitles in Hebrew or whatever, we'll either translate, or 99% of it is just speaks for itself. So you can get us those to David, and we will get them out to the people on the webinar and our mailing list in general. Is that okay? Where do they sit? Are they on the Nature and Parks Authority, those little videos, or on our site in Hebrew?
Yeah, I'd be glad to send you some links. You just have to type Yuval Dax on YouTube. Many of them are found on the SPNI YouTube channel. I recommend everyone to how do you say, to be a member, to subscribe to the SPNI YouTube channel. We have a SPNI YouTube channel. We have my YouTube channel. We have the Nature and Parks Authority YouTube channel. You can find lots of amazing visuals of Israel in these YouTube channels. Subscribe to Amir Balaban's amazing Wildlife Israel channel. Look for Amir Balaban, Yuval Dax, and yeah, it's all on the web.
Okay, great, thanks. Listen, Miroslav asked about, assuming he means the Startup Nature Project, how is it prevented so the water doesn't drain away through the ground in the fish ponds, or is the soil clay-like? I'm not sure about the soil, but I can answer that. I mean, to some degree, the water does drain out in the sense that we keep the water, maintain the water sort of, and it happens to do its natural thing, which is gets much shallower and drier in the summer, and it fills up more in the winter. But basically, the water moves through these places. It's a complicated process, and Yuval mentioned that we turn seawater into desalinated water, and that allows us to, in various places, allow water to return to nature that used to be used for agriculture. And both in Kfar Upin and in Magan Michael, there are natural springs and rivers that filled these fish ponds. And now, instead of the water from the Nachal Taninim in Magan Michael and from the Avuka stream in Kfar Upin going to support intensive fish agriculture, they will be flowing through these rewilded ponds that are now nature reserves, and then eventually into the Jordan River or into the Mediterranean Sea. So that's the water cycle of the fish ponds. Why haven't the poisons that killed so many vultures been banned, or have they been banned? The poisoning is all illegal.
What's the question again?
The vultures that are poisoned from the pesticides that the farmers use, are those illegal pesticides? Have they been banned already?
Yeah, sadly, we have an issue. It's not exactly pesticides, but some people poison wild, try to poison dogs or jackals that are threatening their settlements or threatening the cattle. And then the vultures, when they come to eat the wild dogs or jackals that die, they get poisoned by themselves. It's called like a secondary poisoning.
But is that poison that they use to kill the jackals illegal?
Yeah, of course it's illegal. It's
okay.
All these animals are, of course, protected by wildlife law, so it's illegal to use poison. It's illegal to kill animals in nature at all. And but sadly, many people have, can reach these poisonous chemicals and can put a hand on them.
But by the way, Yuval, one of the jackals are predators, correct? What do they eat in the center of Tel Aviv? What are they preying on mostly?
Well, they don't prey on wild animals because we don't have too much wild animals, but we have so much abundance of garbage, leftovers. People come and do picnics in Israel, and people are very generous when they bring a lunch, so they throw half of the lunch in the rubbish bin. So for the jackal, this is a haven, and the jackal families are the biggest ever. You can see a family with 7 cubs in the middle of the city.
Really? I mean, do they supplement their diet? Don't they need fresh meat? I mean,
the jackals, yeah, they can find, lots of leftovers of food, lots of nutritious food. They just pick the food from garbage bins all around the parks and even inside the city. They come out at night, nobody, and people in Israel, in general, they don't hunt wildlife, lucky for the animals. So that's how some animals can thrive, but some other animals in Israel are disappearing, of course.
Yeah. Wow. Well, these are great photos running in the background. Very enjoyable. We'll all be sure to check out your YouTube channel. Our board member, Dan Pava, asks if there's an opportunity for conservation collaboration with the Abraham Accord countries using your photos and videos. Not exactly sure what he means by that, but I'm sure you're into that if anybody wants to make peace with these videos or use them.
So I'm just typing down my email for whomever wants it. Just you're invited to contact me, yuvaldax@gmail.com, and I'll be very glad to connect to anyone around the world to answer questions or show more footage.
That's great. Well, thank you very much. Thank everybody for attending, for being here with us. Next week, not next week, 2 weeks from today, Sunday, February 5th, that is Erev Tu B'Shvat, the traditional holiday for planting trees in Israel, but SPNI has a different take on Israel's afforestation policies. We have for quite a while been critical of afforestation policies in Israel, and Alon Rothschild, our director of biodiversity policy and marine protection, author of a 2018 report on afforestation policy, excuse me, will be showing a webinar presentation 2 weeks from today. Excuse me. Sorry. Thanks, everybody. Thanks very much. Thank you, Yuval. Thank you, David Amichai, home in Jerusalem. And see you guys in a couple weeks.
Goodbye.
Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.